17 shots. That's how many bullets ended the life of wrestling superstar Dino Bravo. But the real story starts long before that tragic night. From the bright lights of the WWF to the dark underworld of organized crime, Dino Bravo's journey will keep you on the edge. Dino Bravo, born Adolfo Bresciano, was a Canadian wrestler who found fame in the 1980s. Known for his powerful build and immense strength, he became a fixture in the WWF during its golden era. But as with many wrestlers of the time, his story isn't just about the glory in the ring, it's also about the dark side of fame and a mysterious and tragic death. Let's break it down. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room, organized crime. Word is that Bravo got involved with the Cotroni crime family, a major organized crime group in Montreal. Now, that's not exactly the post-wrestling career people might expect, but Bravo was reportedly drawn in by the big money in an illegal business: cigarette smuggling. Believe it or not, smuggling cigarettes was incredibly profitable back then in Canada. Taxes were high, and the black market for cigarettes was booming. For someone like Bravo, it might have seemed like an easy way to make fast cash. Unfortunately, it put him right in the middle of a dangerous world. And as time went on, rumors started swirling that Bravo wasn't just involved in cigarette smuggling. There were whispers about possible drug trafficking too. Now, we usually hear about wrestlers going into acting, maybe writing a book or starting a business, but it was a shock for everyone who knew him. Yet for Bravo, it seemed like just another way to stay afloat financially. But organized crime is never a safe game, and Bravo was playing it at a high-stakes level. Then came the fateful night of March 10th, 1993. Bravo was at home, relaxing, watching a hockey game in his Laval, Quebec home. A pretty regular night, but it ended in tragedy. Bravo was found dead, slumped in his chair, shot 17 times. That's right, 7 bullets to the head and 10 to the torso. If that doesn't scream professional hit, I don't know what does. And it's heartbreaking to think about, really. He was once cheered on by fans, only to meet a tragic end alone in his living room. Police immediately launched an investigation, but they hit a wall. Despite their efforts, the case went cold pretty quickly. The thing that really made them suspicious? There was no sign of forced entry, meaning Bravo likely knew his killers and let them in. This one fact fueled all kinds of theories. Maybe Bravo had been silenced to stop him from revealing secrets about the Cotroni family's operations, or maybe it was a disagreement with someone in the organization. Either way, the whole thing looked like a classic mob-style execution. One last twist adds even more mystery to the story. A briefcase thought to contain important documents about Bravo's criminal activities vanished from the crime scene. No one knows what was in it or why it disappeared. Did it have information that could have pointed to his killers? We might never know, but it's one of those details that makes his story feel like a real-life crime thriller. Dino Bravo's story isn't just about his wrestling fame, it's a cautionary tale. Here's a guy who had it all in the wrestling world, but ended up entangled with dangerous people, all because he was looking for a way to make ends meet. Fame didn't protect him from the dark choices he made outside the ring, and his story is a sobering reminder of the risks of getting involved in the wrong circles. Now, if you followed wrestling in the 1980s, you know that steroid use was rampant across the industry. Wrestlers had these massive physiques, and Bravo was no exception. Though it was never proven, it's widely believed that he used steroids to build his famously muscular body. He had the nickname, the world's strongest man, after all. But this wasn't just about looking good. Wrestlers were under constant pressure to look bigger and stronger, and that sometimes led to extreme measures. So while we can't say for certain if Bravo used steroids, it's safe to say that he was surrounded by an environment where steroid use was almost the norm. Moving on, Bravo's relationship with the WWF wasn't always smooth sailing. In 1986, he was scheduled to face Hulk Hogan for the WWF Championship in his hometown of Montreal. Imagine the hype, a hometown hero taking on the biggest star in wrestling. It would have been huge, but the WWF worried that the Montreal crowd might actually root for Bravo over Hogan. So at the last minute, they scrapped the match. Bravo was furious, feeling that his big moment had been stolen. He even left the company for a short time over this decision. For a wrestler, a championship match, especially in front of a hometown crowd, is a career-defining moment. Losing it was a huge blow for Bravo. Then when Bravo eventually returned to the WWF, fans noticed something different. Gone was the friendly, crowd favorite Dino. In his place was a villainous character with a more arrogant attitude. This change wasn't just in his personality, but in his entire wrestling persona. He was the bad guy now, And while that worked for some wrestlers, it didn't really click with Bravo's fan base. The character change distanced him from the fans who'd rooted for him before, and his popularity suffered. It's tough for wrestlers because changing personas can either skyrocket their careers or take away the qualities fans loved. In the end, Dino Bravo's story is one of talent and tragedy. He was an incredibly skilled wrestler, physically powerful, and had the potential to be a lasting legend in the sport. But his life took him down some dark and dangerous paths. Sure, there were some dark moments in his career, but no one could take away the fact that he was truly a legend in the ring. To give a homage to his legacy here is a quick rundown of his career for the real fans. Dino Bravo, whose real name was Adolfo Bresciano, was born on August 6, 1948 in Campobasso, Italy. His family moved to Canada when he was young, and he grew up in Montreal. From an early age, he had a passion for wrestling and began training in amateur wrestling by the time he was 12. Later on, he was trained by wrestling legend Gino Brito, who helped launch Bravo's professional wrestling career in the 1970s. Bravo kicked off his career with Grand Prix Wrestling in Quebec, where he debuted in 1972, defeating a wrestler named Frenchie Martin. Shortly after, he teamed up with his mentor Gino Brito, and together they won their first championship, the Grand Prix Tag Team Championship. The two became a formidable team and took on popular wrestling figures like the Vachon, Butcher, and Mad Dog Vachon. Their first championship reign lasted until 1974, but Bravo's career was only just starting to gain momentum. In 1974, Bravo took his talents to NWA Hollywood, where he quickly found success, teaming up with Victor Rivera to capture the NWA Hollywood Tag Team Championship. After some time in Hollywood, he moved to the International Wrestling Association, where he teamed up with Gino Brito once again. While he didn't win titles in every match, his popularity and wrestling skills kept climbing. Bravo continued to compete in various wrestling promotions, gaining experience and refining his style. In Georgia Championship Wrestling, he teamed up with Jerry Briscoe and took on some of the top tag teams in the territory. He also had matches against wrestling legends like Randy Savage and Tony Charles, adding to his growing reputation. In 1976, Bravo moved to Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, where he found great success. He teamed up with Mr. Wrestling Tim Woods, and together they won the NWA World Tag Team Championship by defeating Gene and Ole Anderson. This was a big moment in Bravo's career, solidifying him as one of wrestling's rising stars. Bravo and Woods held on to their title for several months, successfully defending it against various teams before eventually losing it back to the Andersons. Bravo didn't stay down for long. Later that year, he captured the NWA Mid-Atlantic Tag Team Championship again with Woods in a tournament. The two continued their partnership, facing off against teams like the Hollywood Blondes and forming a fierce rivalry with stars like Ric Flair and Blackjack Mulligan. Bravo's popularity earned him a spot with the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, WWF, which later became the WWF and then WWE. In early 1978, he formed a popular tag team with Dominic DeNucci. Bravo and DeNucci soon made headlines when they defeated Mr. Fuji and Toru Tanaka to win the WWF World Tag Team Championship. They became fan favorites and defended their title against well-known teams, building a strong following. However, they eventually lost the championship to the Yukon Lumberjacks in 1978. After that, Bravo shifted his focus to singles competition within the WWF, squaring off against stars like superstar Billy Graham and Luke Graham. His ability to transition between tag team and singles matches added to his popularity. In 1979, Dino Bravo made a major move by joining the American Wrestling Association, AWA, after giving up his Canadian Heavyweight Championship title. His debut came in October at a 17-man battle royal in St. Paul, Minnesota, where Andre the Giant claimed victory. Bravo, however, began his AWA journey undefeated, securing wins over notable wrestlers like Buddy Wolf, Sergeant Slaughter, as Super Destroyer Mark II, and Lord Alfred Hayes. His winning streak finally ended in January 1980 when he lost to Adrian Adonis in Green Bay, Wisconsin. In February of that same year, Bravo earned a shot at the AWA Heavyweight Championship, where he faced Nick Bockwinkel. Though he won the match by disqualification, the title didn't change hands. Bravo then formed a tag team with Greg Gagne, challenging the AWA Tag Team Champions, Jesse Ventura and Adrian Adonis, in a series of matches, though they never claimed the titles. Bravo's last AWA match came in January 1981, where he emerged victorious against Ben DeLeon on AWA All-Star Wrestling. Bravo took his career international in 1981, joining New Japan Pro Wrestling. In his first match for the promotion, he teamed up with Riki Choshu, but was defeated by the legendary duo of Stan Hansen and Hulk Hogan. Still, Bravo found success throughout the tour, winning matches against fighters like Ryumago and Kengo Kimura. Returning a year later, Bravo teamed with Adrian Adonis in the prestigious MSG Tag Team League, but met mixed success, winning some matches and losing others, including a notable victory when he teamed up with Andre the Giant to defeat Abdullah the Butcher and Billy Robinson in Tokyo. In 1981, Bravo joined a Canadian promotion called Verusak Promotions, which later became known as International Wrestling. Bravo quickly became a big name, winning the International Heavyweight Championship. He faced wrestling giants like Abdullah the Butcher and Stan Hansen in intense matches, some ending in no contest due to their intensity. Bravo's popularity grew, and he eventually became a part owner of the promotion. He held on to the championship for long stretches, defending it against top wrestlers. Even when he lost the title, he often regained it, including a victory in 1985 with wrestling legend Verne Gagne as the special referee. Bravo even got the chance to take on tag team champions, the Road Warriors, proving he could go toe-to-toe with the best. In 1985, Bravo returned to the World Wrestling Federation, WWF, where he was introduced as the Canadian Heavyweight Champion. He started out strong, teaming up with King Tonga to defeat tough opponents like the Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov. Bravo also scored some impressive singles wins, including one over the rising star Randy Savage. During this time, Bravo was a crowd favorite, especially in his home country. But as time went on, Bravo underwent a big change. By 1986, he had transformed his look, going blonde and adopting a new strongman persona. He left his technical wrestling roots behind, focusing instead on powerful moves like body slams and clotheslines. Bravo continued with ups and downs. He had big feuds with wrestlers like Ken Patera, the Ultimate Warrior, and even Randy Savage. His power and persona made him a unique figure in the WWF, and he teamed up with some of the Federation's strongest competitors. Even though he didn't reach the top championship levels in WWF, Bravo became a memorable personality with fans remembering him for his blend of Canadian pride and strongman prowess. In 1989, Dino Bravo kicked off the year by clashing with Jim Duggan in a series of flag matches. Duggan managed to score a big televised win over Bravo on January 30th, 1989. Bravo then joined forces with the fabulous Rougeau brothers at the Royal Rumble, but lost in a 2 out of 3 falls match against Duggan and the Hart Foundation. In February, Bravo took on Brutus Beefcake, leading to a double countout. Bravo's manager, Frenchie Martin, got an unexpected haircut from Beefcake after the match. Around this time, Bravo also got the chance to wrestle Hulk Hogan in Montreal, though Hogan came out on top. As WrestleMania 5 rolled around, Bravo claimed a victory over Ronnie Garvin, but was attacked afterward, leading to Garvin's signature Garvin Stomp. April saw a big change as Jimmy Hart took over as Bravo's manager. Moving on from Duggan, Bravo shifted his focus to Hercules, winning most of their encounters until a reversal in one June match. Bravo's year continued with several tag team efforts and his alliance with Greg Valentine. The two often faced off against the Hart Foundation and others, with mixed success. Bravo's feud with the Ultimate Warrior picked up steam in late 1989, where he was bested by the Powerhouse. Alongside Earthquake, Bravo then shifted to tag team matches, often going head-to-head with Hulk Hogan and Tugboat in 1990. This rivalry lasted through SummerSlam and the Survivor Series, where Bravo was eliminated by Hogan. In 1991, Bravo faced off with various opponents like Davey Boy Smith, but struggled to secure consistent victories. By 1992, Bravo wrestled his retirement match against the Barbarian in Montreal, though he briefly returned for a European tour. After wrapping up his wrestling career, Bravo focused on training new wrestlers in Montreal. Dino Bravo's journey in wrestling was truly unforgettable. Known for his strength, charisma, and powerful build, he captivated fans around the world and earned his place as a legend in the ring. But as we've seen, his story didn't end with his wrestling career. Like many wrestlers of his time, he faced the struggle of finding stability after the spotlight faded. For Bravo, that journey led him into the shadowy world of organized crime, a decision that ultimately had fatal consequences. His involvement in cigarette smuggling, the alleged ties to the Cotroni crime family, and the whispers of other illegal activities added layers to his story that were as intriguing as they were tragic. It's a cautionary tale that fame and fortune in the ring don't always translate to security outside of it. Bravo's decisions off the mat brought him into dangerous circles, and while he may have believed it was just another way to get by, it was a high-stakes game that didn't end well. His mysterious death, which still haunts fans and remains unsolved, speaks to the dark side of a life entangled in crime. Despite the darker parts of his journey, Dino Bravo left a mark on the wrestling world that will never be forgotten. His powerful presence, dedication to his craft, and connection with fans made him a truly memorable figure in wrestling's golden era. Reflecting on his life, it's clear that Bravo's story is both a celebration of his talent and a sobering reminder of the dangers that come with certain choices outside the ring. If you enjoyed this look back at the life and legacy of Dino Bravo, make sure to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories about wrestling legends and tap the bell icon so you'll know as soon as we release a new video. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more in-depth looks at the biggest names in wrestling.
When Hot Rod Roddy Piper stepped into the ring, you never knew what to expect. He was a master of chaos, both inside and outside the squared circle. But even legends have their dark sides. Let's take a look at the controversies that surrounded Piper's career and relive the tragic death of our legend. Roddy Piper was a huge star in professional wrestling, mainly famous during his time with the World Wrestling Federation, now WWE, and World Championship Wrestling, between 1984 and 2000. He was originally from Canada, but he really played up his Scottish heritage by wearing a kilt and using bagpipe music for his entrances, which made him pretty unique in the wrestling world. Everyone knew him as Rowdy and Hot Rod because he had this quick temper and a sharp sense of humor, which made him the perfect wrestling bad guy, or heel, as they call it. Piper was a big deal, headlining massive events like WrestleMania for WWF and Starrcade for WCW. He won a whopping 34 championships, and even hosted his own interview segment called Piper's Pit, which was a big part of developing the ongoing storylines and feuds in wrestling. In 2005, his contributions were officially recognized when he was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame by Ric Flair, who called him the most gifted entertainer in the history of professional wrestling. Piper's blend of charisma and knack for entertainment made him a legend in the wrestling scene. But his career was not without some terrible controversies. Piper was known for delivering unscripted promos that sometimes contained racist, homophobic, or misogynistic language, which upset many viewers and affected his image negatively. Beyond his words, Piper was also known for his physical altercations, not confined to clashes with fellow wrestlers. These confrontations sometimes extended to fans, exacerbating the controversies surrounding him and fueling discussions about his conduct both in and out of the ring. One of the most contentious parts of Piper's career involved his storylines, particularly his feud with Mr. T, which was laden with racist stereotypes. These storylines drew sharp criticism for their insensitivity and for perpetuating harmful stereotypes, reflecting poorly on the wrestling industry's approach to narrative and character development at the time. In more recent years, several accusations of harassment have surfaced against Piper. These allegations, though unproven, have prompted a re-evaluation of his personal conduct and added a layer of complexity to his public persona. Despite these significant issues, Roddy Piper remains a notable figure in the wrestling world. His contributions to the sport and his impact on popular culture cannot be overlooked. He was a performer who brought intensity and flair to the ring, entertaining millions and shaping the course of professional wrestling. While his controversies are part of his story, they coexist with his achievements, making him a complex and enduring figure in the history of the sport. Everything was going well, until one day, tragedy struck and took his precious life away. Piper passed away peacefully in his sleep on July 31, 2015. He was 61 years old and was at his summer home in Los Angeles, California. The cause of death was a cardiopulmonary arrest due to high blood pressure, and a pulmonary embolism also played a role. Just before he passed away, Piper appeared on The Rich Eisen Show, where he seemed a bit off, having trouble focusing and responding to questions. People didn't think much of it at the time, because Piper was known to be quite a character. His death was a real shock, especially since he had just beaten Hodgkin's lymphoma and seemed to be doing well health-wise. This news hit the wrestling community and his fans really hard, as they hadn't expected to lose him so suddenly. As a tribute to his legacy, let us learn a thing or two about his dynamic personality and incredible career. Roddy Piper, born Roderick George Toombs on April 17, 1954, in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, led a fascinating life. He grew up in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and attended Windsor Park Collegiate. His dad, Stanley, worked for CN Rail Police. Roddy had a tough childhood, getting expelled from junior high for carrying a switchblade and having a big fight with his dad. He left home and stayed in youth hostels, picking up odd jobs at gyms and running errands for wrestlers. He learned to play the bagpipes and became friends with ex-NHL player Cam Connor. Roddy started as an amateur wrestler before moving to professional wrestling. He claimed to have won the Golden Gloves boxing championship, although there's no record of it. He earned a black belt in judo from Jean LaBelle and began wrestling in Canada under promoter Al Tomko. His first match involved midget wrestlers in Churchill, Manitoba. While still in school, he wrestled in the American Wrestling Association, AWA, and got the name Roddy the Piper after an announcer called him that. By 1975, Piper was a top villain in NWA Hollywood Wrestling, where he created his rowdy character. He had a memorable feud with Chavo Guerrero Sr. and stirred up the local Mexican community with his antics, like playing La Cucaracha instead of the Mexican national anthem. Piper also wrestled as the Masked Canadian until Hector Guerrero unmasked him. In Portland, he teamed with Killer Tim Brooks and Rick Martel, winning several championships. In the early 1980s, Piper wrestled in the Mid-Atlantic territory, defeating Jack Briscoe for the Mid-Atlantic title and Ric Flair for the U.S. belt. He also became a commentator on Georgia Championship Wrestling, where he became a fan favorite after saving commentator Gordon Solie from an attack by Don Morocco. Piper's popularity soared, and his feud with Greg Valentine led to a brutal dog collar match at the first Starrcade, where Piper suffered permanent hearing damage. Piper joined the WWF full-time in 1984, initially as a manager before wrestling full-time. He became famous for his interview segment, Piper's Pit, where he had memorable confrontations, like smashing a coconut over Jimmy Snuka's head. Piper feuded with Hulk Hogan and played a significant role in the first WrestleMania, teaming with Paul Orndorff against Hogan and Mr. T. Their match at WrestleMania 2, a boxing bout, ended with Piper body-slamming Mr. T, leading to his disqualification. After a brief break, Piper returned to the WWF in 1986, feuding with Adrian Adonis, who had replaced Piper's Pit with The Flower Shop. Their rivalry led to a hair versus hair match at WrestleMania 3, which Piper won before retiring to pursue acting. Piper returned to the WWF in 1989, resuming his in-ring career and co-hosting Primetime Wrestling. He feuded with Rick Rude and Bad News Brown, the latter involving a controversial blackface incident. Piper won the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship in 1992, but soon lost it to Bret Hart. He left the WWF again in 1994, but returned intermittently as a referee and authority figure, including a stint as WWF president in 1996. In 1996, Piper joined WCW, where he feuded with the NWO and won matches against Hollywood Hogan. As WCW commissioner, he continued to be a prominent figure until he left in 2000. Piper briefly served as the commissioner of the Excitement Wrestling Federation before returning to WWE in 2003, feuding with Hulk Hogan and aligning with Sean O'Haire. His controversial comments in an HBO interview led to his release. Piper joined TNA in 2002, feuding with Vince Russo and making several appearances until 2005. In 2005, Piper was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. He made occasional WWE appearances, including hosting Piper's Pit segments and participating in special matches. Piper continued to wrestle on the independent circuit, winning a Legends Battle Royal in 2011. His final WWE appearance was in 2014, and he passed away on July 31, 2015, leaving behind a lasting legacy as one of wrestling's most charismatic and influential figures. In the end, Roddy Piper was truly one of a kind in the wrestling world, a man whose legacy is as colorful as his personality. From his iconic entrance in a kilt to his unforgettable promos and feuds, Piper was not just a wrestler, he was an entertainer who left an indelible mark on the sport and its fans. While his career had its share of controversies, these do not overshadow the incredible impact he made. Piper's ability to captivate audiences and his contributions to wrestling's golden eras remind us of the complex yet mesmerizing figure he was. Now, If you found this dive into the chaotic and compelling world of Hot Rod Roddy Piper as intriguing as we did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more wrestling history and insights. Share your favorite Piper moment in the comments below, and let us know who you'd like us to cover next on the channel. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep the spirit of wrestling alive.
Owen Hart was a master of pranks and infectious laughter, but his life took a tragic turn when a stunt went horribly wrong. It was a moment that shocked the world and forever changed professional wrestling. Get ready to hear the heartbreaking story of how this wrestling icon met his untimely death. Owen Hart was a well-known Canadian-American wrestler who competed in big leagues like the WWF, where he also went by the names the Blue Angel and the Blue Blazer. Born in Calgary, Alberta, he was the youngest of 12 kids in the Hart wrestling family. His parents, Stu and Helen Hart, were big names in the wrestling promotion world. Owen had a pretty successful wrestling career. He won the USWA Unified World Heavyweight Championship once, became a two-time WWF Intercontinental Champion, snagged the WWF European Championship once, and was a four-time WWF World Tag Team Champion. He even clinched the WWF King of the Ring title in 1994 and was known for his great performances in the ring. Everything was going perfectly until one day everything came down south. But before we get into it, make sure to like and subscribe. On May 23, 1999, during a live wrestling event in Kansas City, Missouri, the wrestling world was shaken by the tragic death of Owen Hart. The event, called Over the Edge, was meant to feature Hart in a high-flying stunt where he'd be lowered into the ring from the arena's rafters. Playing his character, the Blue Blazer, a sort of clumsy superhero, Hart's entrance was supposed to be both dramatic and comedic. He'd be lowered down, pretend to get tangled up, then accidentally release himself from the harness to land in the ring. Unfortunately, the stunt went horribly wrong. While being lowered, Hart fell 78 feet and landed chest first on the top rope, causing fatal injuries. This all happened while the arena lights were dimmed and a pre-recorded video played for the audience, so no one saw the fall. The live crowd was kept in the dark about the severity of the situation, as emergency teams rushed to help him. On the air, announcer Jim Ross had the difficult job of telling viewers that this wasn't part of the show. Owen Hart was really hurt. Despite immediate medical efforts, Hart died from his injuries, specifically from internal bleeding caused by blunt force trauma. He was only 34. The decision by the WWF to continue the event after such a shocking incident sparked a lot of controversies. They took a lot of heat for not stopping the show, and it's something that's still debated today. They never released that particular pay-per-view for home viewing, and when they later added it to the WWE Network, they edited out all mentions of Hart, except for a brief memorial at the beginning. The next night, the WWF aired a special episode of Raw called Raw is Owen, dedicated to Hart's memory. It was a touching tribute, with wrestlers sharing personal anecdotes and performing in his honor, making it one of the highest-rated episodes ever. The aftermath of Hart's death saw a long legal battle between his widow Martha and the WWF, which ended with an $18 million settlement. Martha used some of that money to start the Owen Hart Foundation, helping people in need, which was a beautiful way to honor his legacy. Martha has remained a staunch critic of wrestling safety practices and has fought several legal battles with WWE over the use of her husband's image. In 2010, she even sued WWE for using Hart's likeness without proper permission, a case that was settled out of court. Although we lost a gem, his legacy was indeed phenomenal. So why not learn a thing or two about it? Owen Hart, born on May 7, 1965 in Calgary, was the youngest of 12 kids in the famous Hart wrestling family. Growing up in such a big family, you can imagine the house was never quiet. His mom, Helen, was American, and his dad, Stu, was Canadian. So Owen ended up with dual citizenship. The Hart family was a mix of Greek and Irish through his grandparents, and his dad also had Scots-Irish, Scottish, and German roots. From the start, Owen was surrounded by wrestling, but believe it or not, it wasn't his first choice for a career. He really tried to make it in other fields, but somehow wrestling kept pulling him back. He got his start in amateur wrestling back in high school and kept at it through college at the University of Calgary. Funny enough, he even wrestled incognito as the original British Bulldog during university to keep a low profile. His professional wrestling career kicked off in the mid-80s. He trained in his father's famous Hart Dungeon and started off wrestling in Canada and the UK. His big break came when he teamed up with Ben Basarab, and they snagged the Stampede Wrestling International Tag Team Championship. People started really noticing his talent, and he picked up a Rookie of the Year award in 1987. Owen didn't stop there. He took his wrestling gear to Japan, where he became the first non-Japanese wrestler to win the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. That was a huge deal back then. Even with success in Japan, he was just getting warmed up. By 1988, Owen was ready for the big leagues and joined the World Wrestling Federation, now known as WWE. They introduced him as the Blue Blazer, a masked superhero character that matched his high-flying moves. While he had some wins, he often found himself up against bigger stars, where he didn't always come out on top. After a stint away from the WWF wrestling around the world, Owen came back in the early 90s. He teamed up with various partners, including his brother-in-law Jim Neidhart and Koko B. Ware, but the real drama started when he began a feud with his brother Bret Hart. This wasn't just any rivalry. It was brother against brother, full of intense matches and emotional drama. Their steel cage match at SummerSlam is still talked about as one of the best. Throughout the 90s, Owen had quite the roller coaster career. He teamed up with Yokozuna to win the WWF Tag Team Championship and later formed a dynamic duo with his brother-in-law, the British Bulldog. Owen even picked up a quirky nickname, the King of Hearts, after winning the King of the Ring tournament. He really knew how to entertain and keep the crowds hooked. Tragically, Owen's life and career were cut short in May 1999 during a stunt that went wrong at a pay-per-view event. His passing was a huge shock to everyone and left a big hole in the wrestling world. But Owen's legacy lives on. He was posthumously inducted into the Legends Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2011, a testament to his impact on the sport. Outside the ring, Owen was a family man. He married Martha in 1989, and they had 2 kids together. His story isn't just about wrestling. It's about following your passion and making the most of every moment, both in the spotlight and at home. It's a reminder of how unpredictable life can be, but also how much one person can achieve with talent and determination. Owen Hart's story really hits hard, doesn't it? This guy wasn't just a phenomenal wrestler. He was a family man and a legendary prankster who brought so much life and laughter to those around him. His untimely passing was a shock to everyone, and it definitely changed wrestling forever. But through the Owen Hart Foundation, his spirit of giving is still making a huge difference today. If Owen's journey from the wrestling ring to his lasting impact touched you, why not stick around for more? Hit that like button. If you found this story as moving as I did, subscribe for more deep dives into the wrestling world and smash that bell icon to stay updated. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Owen's legacy or any memories you have of him. Just drop a comment below. Thanks for watching, and let's keep the conversation going about the legends who've shaped wrestling. What's your favorite Owen Hart match? Let's talk in the comment section below.
It is funny. All right. And he has the tag belt. I've never seen that before.
A hotel room in Minneapolis, a lifeless body, a legacy shattered. The story of Eddie Guerrero's final hours is one that still sends chills down the spines of wrestling fans everywhere. He was the ultimate underdog, always defying the odds. But in the end, even Eddie Guerrero couldn't overcome his greatest opponent. Born into the Guerrero wrestling family on October 9, 1967, Eddie followed in his father Gory Guerrero's footsteps, who was also a renowned wrestler. Eddie's nickname Latino Heat captured his clever win-at-all-costs wrestling style. Eddie started wrestling in Mexico and Japan, building his skills before making a splash in the U.S. wrestling scenes of ECW, WCW, and eventually WWE. He became especially popular during the early 2000s, when he reached peak fame on the WWE's SmackDown brand. Despite his villain roles, fans loved him for his charisma and complexity. After initial success in Mexico and teaming up with Art Barr, Eddie moved to the U.S. in 1995, wrestling for ECW and then WCW, where he won multiple championships. In 2000, disappointed with WCW, he switched to WWE. There, he teamed up with fellow wrestlers to form the Radicals. Eddie faced challenges, including being released in 2001 due to his struggles with addiction, but he made a strong comeback, forming a tag team with his nephew Chavo and eventually winning the WWE Championship in 2004. Everything was seemingly perfect till now, until everything came crashing down. One day, he was in the ring, and the other day, he was gone. On November 13, 2005, the world of wrestling was rocked by truly sad news. Eddie Guerrero had passed away unexpectedly. He was just 38 and was found in his hotel room in Minneapolis. Even now, years later, fans still chant Viva la Raza at matches, a touching tribute to Eddie's character and his heritage. His story, with its highs and lows, continues to inspire and resonate within the wrestling community and beyond. It's a poignant reminder of his resilience, his spirit, and the indelible mark he left on the world of wrestling. Eddie Guerrero, a man of incredible strength and heart, is remembered not just for his in-ring prowess, but for his courageous fight against his personal demons, making his journey a lasting legacy. In the early 90s, Eddie also wrestled in Japan and won some major tournaments. His talent caught the attention of Paul Heyman, who brought him to Extreme Championship Wrestling in 1995. Eddie made a big splash there, winning the ECW World Television Championship right in his debut match. His time in ECW was highlighted by incredible matches with Dean Malenko before they both signed with WCW later that year. Back in WCW, Eddie had success but often felt overlooked for the bigger opportunities. This frustration led to a famous on-air moment where he confronted WCW President Eric Bischoff, demanding better treatment. To make a statement, Eddie formed the Latino World Order, LWO, a group that pushed for more recognition for Latino wrestlers. Unfortunately, a car accident in 1999 cut short that storyline. After recovering, Eddie returned to WCW and joined the Filthy Animals, continuing to make his mark in the wrestling world. In 2000, he left WCW and signed with the World Wrestling Federation, WWF, where he would go on to achieve even greater success. Through it all, Eddie's passion for wrestling shone through, making him one of the most respected and beloved figures in the sport. When Eddie Guerrero and his pals Chris Benoit, Dean Malenko, and Perry Saturn showed up in WWF, now WWE, in January 2000 as the Radicals, they really stirred things up. They burst onto the scene during a Raw is War episode, jumping in during a match against the New Age Outlaws. Everyone initially rooted for them as the heroes, but that vibe didn't last long. Eddie's debut match teamed him up with Perry Saturn against the New Age Outlaws, but it went south fast. Attempting his famous frog splash, Eddie landed badly and dislocated his elbow. That mishap knocked him out of the game for a few weeks. The plan was for Eddie and Saturn to win, but after the injury, Eddie had to ask Road Dogg to pin him quickly to wrap up the match. Things took a turn when the Radicals sided with WWF champion Triple H and became the villains. One unforgettable moment was when Eddie rolled up to a match in a classic 1957 Chevrolet, treating the night like his prom to celebrate getting his GED. This fun twist in his character won the fans over. Despite his rising popularity, things got rocky with Chyna, especially after Eddie accidentally pinned her in a match, which led to him winning his first Intercontinental Championship. Their relationship hit more bumps when Chyna decided to pose for Playboy, which didn't sit well with Eddie, especially since he had just proposed to her. The engagement ended quickly after Eddie was caught cheating, leading to his famous line, "Two mamacitas are better than one." This drama turned Eddie back into a villain and marked the end of their relationship. By the end of 2000, the Radicals were back together, feuding with D-Generation X, DX, and scoring a big win at Survivor Series. However, Eddie lost his Intercontinental title to Billy Gunn soon after. The group stayed in the limelight, clashing with teams like the Hardy Boys and Lita. In 2001, Eddie aimed for the European Championship again and won it at WrestleMania X7, but his real-life struggles soon overshadowed his in-ring achievements. After a car accident in 1999, Eddie developed an addiction to pain medication, leading to a rehab stint. He was arrested for drunk driving in November 2001 and WWF had to let him go. Eddie didn't stay down for long. He hit the independent circuit in 2002, picking up titles before returning to WWF. He quickly reignited a feud with Rob Van Dam and grabbed the Intercontinental Championship again. His rivalry with Edge and later teaming up with his nephew Chavo to form Los Guerreros became fan favorites, even with their cheeky motto, "We lie, we cheat, and we steal." Eddie's career continued to ride high. He nabbed the United States Championship and, in a career highlight, defeated Brock Lesnar in 2004 to win the WWE Championship. His time as champion was brief but memorable, marked by an iconic celebration with Chris Benoit at WrestleMania XXIII. Eddie Guerrero's career was a roller coaster of highs and lows, marked by his undeniable charm, humor, and a deep connection with fans. He remains one of the most beloved figures in wrestling history, celebrated for his ability to entertain and inspire. Eddie Guerrero's life was like a roller coaster, packed with big wins and tough challenges. His sudden passing left a big hole in the hearts of wrestling fans and showed just how hard the sport can be on those who entertain us. But Eddie's story is really about beating the odds. He fought personal demons, reached the top of wrestling, and won over fans with his undeniable charm and skills. His legacy goes beyond the ring. It started conversations about how wrestlers are taken care of and showed us all how to keep pushing no matter what. Today, when you hear fans chant "Viva la Raza," it's a reminder of the mark Eddie left on the sport and on people's hearts. If Eddie's journey strikes a chord with you, why not give a thumbs up, share this video, and hit that subscribe button. Join us as we keep the stories of wrestling legends alive. Catch you in the next video where we'll bring another unforgettable tale from the wrestling world.